Good morning. Thank you very much for the very kind invitation to move into the second part of the morning, which is really connected to the funding agencies and the mechanism of the funding agencies. So my view will be slightly different. It's also my great pleasure to thank the organizers to have given me this opportunity, particularly to Professor Anzai, to whom I owe other things. So let me move on. So the European Research Council is an organization which is based under the responsibility of the European Commission. But maybe one thing which you should know is that although Europe is moving to organize itself, the funding which is coming for research from the various programs of the European Commission represent only 8% of the overall research funding of the countries. So we heard from Paul Boyle quite a lot about UK, but other countries also have kept a lot of their programs. And in its work program, the ERC is really, which is a responsibility of the Scientific Council, which is one of our specific features, really states very clearly that the fundamental activity of ERC is to provide attractive, long-term funding to support excellent investigators and their research teams to pursue groundbreaking, high-gain, high-risk research. So to be very specific, as I will say, it means that we are really, the conditions under which we give the money is, of course, very connected to this goal. And so also the other thing I want to explain is that the responsibility of the ERC is within the global program of the European Commission. Again, as I said, only 8% of the support of research for Europe. And it has been built on three pillars. One pillar is industrial leadership. The other pillar is societal challenges. These are definitely top-down programs. As you can imagine, this one is very much connected to industry. This one is very much connected to demand by people. And then the other component is so-called excellent science. So these are the three pillars, more or less the same size. And ERC is one of them. And ERC represents 17% of the overall program. As was said by Paul Boyle, Horizon 2020 is almost 80 billion program for 7 years, because that's the way Europe is organized. It decides its budget for a 7-year period. And so ERC is in this setting. And so now the budget for ERC is 13.1 billion for this period. And again, I insist, it's just one component of several other programs. In the case of ERC, it's really a completely bottom-up program, when the other ones are top-down programs. So it's really an ecosystem with different things. And this is the budget for ERC. From the time of its creation, which is 2007, it has been developed for the first 7 years of the so-called Framework Program 7. And now we are bound for the second Framework Program for ERC, which is for the period 2014 to 2020. As you can see, the start is not fantastic, and I'm joining Paul Boyle in his comment that the overall budget, which is of course much more, but we were created there, so nothing existed. We had to create everything. So overall, the budget here is, you see, a slight step down from what was 2013. Nevertheless, we have the responsibility of distributing this year about 1.7 billion euro, which is a substantial amount of money, which means basically 1,000 grants. So our grant schemes is a very specific one, which was chosen by the Scientific Council. And the first grant level is the so-called starting grants, typically people from 2 to 7 years after PhD. And the amount of money is up to 1.5 million over 5 years. But you can add also another 500,000 in case you need to have access to large facilities. Next level is consolidated grants. I don't like the name, so if anybody has a better name, I'm willing to buy it. Which means people from 7 to 12 years after PhD and up to 2 million. And again, this amount of money is both for what you need to run the experiments or to support a team around you. And of course, for all these people who are still pretty young people, of course, building a team is a very important element. And also we have advanced grants, which are just with no restrictions to time to PhD. By the way, there is one thing I want to stress, is that these upper limits actually can be shifted when, for a woman, when you have a child, it's shifted by 18 months per child, which means 3 years for 2 children and so on. And actually it is functioning. We do have women taking advantage of these possibilities of shifting the upper bounds. But there is also another program which was created by the Scientific Council, which of course in terms of money is much smaller, but is proving to be quite efficient, which is so-called proof of concept. The whole idea is very much connected to what Franz Koroba also spoke about, namely the need to bring the research closer to market or societal challenges in ways. And so the idea here is, if along the research, the researchers really get the feeling that they have the possibility of branching off to more industrial activities or more activities more connected to societal challenges, then we can provide them with some extra money. It's not a huge amount of money, but it's also the idea, help them to mature something which could be a business plan. And so we are giving something like 100 grants, even under 25 this year, grants of this type. And the demand is growing from researchers. And again, it's strictly bottom-up. That is, we just let them submit their proposal for this. And the people who evaluate these requests are not scientists, they are more people who are professional of development, of connection to markets. So these are the funding schemes. And of course, what is very important is what it is proposing for research. And for us, breakthrough research is very much connected to really the initiative which is given to researchers. So it's very important that people choose their own topic, and also they can create their own teams. The amount of money which is given to them is quite substantial, in the sense that it gives them financial autonomy for 5 years. Of course, it depends very much what kind of research you're doing. Some areas, they need some extra money from other sources. Very important, we do not sign with the researcher for the grant. We just sign with the funding, with the host institution. But of course, we help them to have a good working condition. They can attract top team members, and they can really move with the grant to any place in Europe. And that's the so-called portability of grants, which really give them a lot of power, actually. And as I said, sometimes they need extra funding, but the ERC has become now a quality label. The only criteria is scientific quality. And of course, what we're looking at, the quality of the project, and it should be groundbreaking nature. Potential scientific impact and scientific approach feasibility is also, of course, checked by the panels looking for this. The next thing is the scientific quality of the person submitting the proposal, the principal investigator. And of course, we check what they have been doing intellectually, also their level of creativity, but also their commitment. So this program is also open to non-Europeans who want to spend at least 50% of their time in Europe. And the time they have to commit it for the project itself varies depending on the level of you are working. There's been a great priority given to young scientists. So you see that this is the age distribution. And clearly there is a huge concentration, people between 30 and 40, corresponding to the starting grants and consolidated grants. Although still, I mean, there is a substantial number of people who are supported with the advanced grants, the blue ones here. So this is this priority. 2/3 of the money is going really to young scientists. And also here is the composition of the teams that people create around them. And most of them are either postdocs or doctoral students. And the key point I want to stress here is the percentage of those who are non-European associated with these programs. And so almost 30% are non-Europeans among the postdocs. And the ecosystem this represents is, well, say between 15,000 and 18,000 researchers which are involved in the ERC teams. So I think we can say sometimes it's quite a successful story. It is now highly recognized by the research community. Number of grants which have been distributed between 2007 and 2013 is exactly 4,352. That's the exact number. 65% go to young people. And in the year 2014, already will be giving about 950 grants, but more than 750 go to younger people. 66 nationalities represented. It is highly competitive. That is only 10% of people get funded, and more than 600 institutions have received grants. But it's true that 50% of the grants go to 50 institutions. So one can say that excellence is really attracting excellence. It has a benchmarking effect, and hopefully the agency which is managing the whole program is quite efficient and really has a fast management. So of course the funding of frontier research can be organized in different ways. There are different paradigms for that. And of course there is the pure basic research, like Niels Bohr has been defending it. There is a research which really is going to be quite important and with an impact. And that was really the motto of Pasteur in his work, that is, you need to understand a lot of things, but you also, after you have understood, you can deliver to something, which is really a scheme which is now very much in favor. But also there are people who are really defending the point of view of pure applied research. Of course, as an agency which is really very much embedded into fundamental research, our spirit is very much in this nature here. Although, of course, we are perfectly fine with pure basic research. So I'm just finishing with 3 quotes on the way we fund research matters. And this is a quote which comes from the National Bureau of Economic Research. Very nice statement, which in a very interesting article by Pierre Azoulay, Joshua Swins, and Gustavo Manso. And I'll let you read it, which is despite, well, maybe the first sentence is a critical one. And the next one I want to quote, and is also a quote from Science, which is big names and big ideas. Do peer review panels select the best science proposals? I think what's very important, this very extensive study is to show that peer review has been really instrumental in getting identified, really making a difference in where the quality of research, the quality is the main criteria for research. Really this makes, in the end, delivers better quality results. So this was the end of my presentation. So in case you want to have more information on ERC, this is the website. We have a number of national contact points, and including with a number of countries with which we are actually signing exchange agreements. We're about to sign one with the JSPS very soon, so it should be at the end of this week. We are very pleased with the quick outcome of the negotiation. I'm very grateful to Mr. Saito, who has been instrumental in making this happen, and to President Hensai for the support. We have an agreement with the NSF. We have an agreement also with the NRF from Korea, and one being signed, almost signed, with South Africa. So the 2 organizers of this meeting, of course, have been really already, we have been collaborating with them. And we have a few others coming up. One with Argentina has been signed, and also one with China will be signed very soon. Thank you very much.